Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going way back in time to the SNL 50, the homecoming concert. It's going to be like, like we've got a backstage pass to the music and the moments and maybe even some of the strategy behind this whole shebang. We got fantastic Variety article to help us paint that picture. So get ready for some serious FOMO.
It's really interesting how this concert wasn't just about like SNL's legacy and comedy, right? Like it was really kind of like a testament to the influence that SNL has had on music for the past 5 decades.
You're so right. And that Variety article, I mean, it captures that eclectic mix of artists across generations, right? It's like they opened up the SNL time capsule and shook it up good and poured it out, and it's just this crazy musical cocktail that's both nostalgic and current.
It's wild how they were able to balance the nostalgia and with, that sort of cutting edge feel. It would have been easy to just like totally just lean into the greatest hits, but they brought in contemporary artists like Robin, Brandy, Carlile, Post Malone. And that shows that SNL still knows what's up. They're still tapped into the pulse of what's happening now.
Absolutely. And it makes me think about John Mulaney's comment in the article. He said that SNL's late music guru, Hal Willner, he would have loved and hated parts of the show.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think Wilner would have strong opinions about? I could just picture him with his beret, raising an eyebrow at some of the choices.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, Wilner was known for that eclectic taste, right? Like, his ability to curate these crazy musical experiences. I bet he would have loved the weird pairings like Robin and David Byrne, but maybe not some of those super poppy moments.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That might not have been his cup of tea, but who knows? It's all just speculation. But it definitely makes it more intriguing.
totally. It's like a musical puzzle, trying to figure out what would have made Wilner tick.
Right.
Speaking of musical moments, though, we have to talk about Jack White's finale.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, weaving Neil Young's Rockin' in the Free World into Seven Nation Army. I mean, genius.
Yeah, that was brilliant. It's not just about those two iconic anthems coming together, right? It's a statement. Like, Rockin' in the Free World, even though it came out like over 30 years ago, it still carries that message of, protest and rebellion. And blending that with Seven Nation Army, which has become this anthem on its own, it created this sense of continuity, like passing the torch from one generation of rock to the next.
And think about the visual of that performance. Jack White, this modern-day guitar hero, channeling Neil Young. It's a visual and sonic representation of SNL's ability to bridge generations and genres. It's like saying, we've been here, we are here, and we are going to keep rocking.
You're really picking up on something important there. It's not just about the music. It's about the visual storytelling, the legacy, the whole thing. And speaking of icons, Lady Gaga had an unforgettable night.
Oh, for sure. I mean, she delivers this heart-wrenching Shallow, reminding us why that song became such a phenomenon, then turns around, does a comedic duet with Andy Samberg on Dick in a Box. I mean, the range.
Right. It really shows her versatility as an artist, but also like SNL's willingness to embrace highbrow and lowbrow humor. It's that fearless blend that has kept the show relevant for so long.
And that fearlessness is why we come back for more.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a roller coaster. You just never know what's next. And just like a roller coaster, sometimes you scream with delight, sometimes you cover your eyes and laugh nervously, and sometimes you're just totally blown away.
Before we dive into more of those blown away moments, we wanted to remind you to like and subscribe to The Deep Dive. It really helps us out and keeps you in the loop for more deep dives like this one. Now back to the music. Did you see Robin and David Byrne together? Talk about an unexpected pairing.
That was a treat. Robin in that oversized suit, she was totally playing on Byrne's iconic Stop Making Sense look.
Totally.
And the way they blended Dancing on My Own with This Must Be the
It was
Place.
magic. Pure magic.
It was like they created this whole new world on stage, this blend of melancholy and joy, loneliness and connection.
Yeah.
It was beautiful and kind of heartbreaking all at the same
It
time.
was a whole emotional landscape. And you know what's really interesting? Byrne actually had two appearances that night. The first was with Arcade Fire St. Vincent and the Preservation Hall Jazz Band
Oh, yeah.
for a medley of Heroes and Wake Up.
Yeah, that felt like a true jam session. So much energy and talent on stage at once. It was like watching music history in real time.
And it's moments like that that capture SNL's essence, right? It's not just about the perfect performances. It's about celebrating the energy of live music, the unexpected collaborations, the improvisation.
Yeah.
Speaking of raw energy, we can't forget Lauryn Hill. Her performance was definitely one of the most anticipated with the night. Remember, this was right after the Fugees' reunion tour had to be canceled, so there was a lot of buzz around her solo appearance.
Oh, yeah. And she did not disappoint. Her voice was as powerful as ever. I have to admit, though, I was a little distracted by all the fur she was wearing. It's
Yeah.
like a glamorous Yeti had taken the stage.
Well, that's Lauryn Hill for you, always making a statement musically and visually, but you're right, her voice was definitely the star of the show, and it's amazing to think about the impact she's had on music, not just as a solo artist, but with the Fugees, too. They brought hip-hop to a whole new audience, and you can still feel her influence today.
Okay, switching gears for a sec. Let's talk about the Post-Nirvana collaboration. I have to say, this one kind of left me underwhelmed.
Uh-huh.
I know Post Malone has covered a bunch of Nirvana songs, and he's known for being able to jump between genres. But this one just didn't have that same raw energy as like the all-female Nirvana lineup from Fire Aid.
I see what you mean. It did feel like a missed opportunity. Like, imagine if they had brought in some of those powerful female voices to pay tribute to Kurt Cobain's legacy. That would have been electric.
Right. It would have been a powerful statement about, SNL's commitment to showcasing diverse voices and pushing boundaries.
For sure. And speaking of powerful voices, Bonnie Raitt just stole the show.
She did?
Her performance of Sim Called Love and I Can't Make You Love Me was just breathtaking. And can we give a shout out to Chris Martin for that piano accompaniment?
Oh, yeah.
He really added this beautiful, understated layer to those already iconic songs.
Yeah, Chris Martin on piano is always a win in my book. And speaking of winning performances, Brandi Carlile's rendition of The Joke gave me chills all over again. Remember her performance at the 2019 Grammys?
Oh, yeah.
It was like a lightning bolt. She has this incredible ability to connect with an audience on such a deep level.
It's that combination of her raw vocal power and the lyrical depth of her songs, The Joke, is all about finding hope and resilience in the face of adversity, and that's a message that resonates deeply. And Carlisle delivers it with such conviction and vulnerability, it's impossible not to be moved by it.
Okay, now, for a performance that left me scratching my head a bit, Bill Murray as lounge singer, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I love Bill Murray, but this felt a little all over the place. Like, was he improvising the whole thing?
It did seem like he was kind of winging it. And the jokes didn't quite land. But you know what I found interesting? The contrast between his kind of rambling performance and the amazing vocals from those backup singers.
Yes.
Anna Gaster, Cecily Strong, Maya Rudolph.
They were killing it.
They were absolutely killing it.
It was like they were trying to steal the show from behind him.
Right.
And almost succeeded.
Yeah.
They have such incredible voices. I would love to see them form a girl group. Imagine the harmonies. But speaking of icons, can we talk about Cher closing out the night with If I Could Turn Back Time?
What a way to end the show. It's like she is the spirit of SNL, timeless, fearless, always pushing boundaries. And let's not forget about Diane Warren, who wrote that iconic anthem. I'm still surprised she hasn't won an Oscar for that song.
I know, right? It's such a classic. It just proves that a good song can really stand the test of time. And speaking of time, imagine being at the SNL 100 Homecoming concert in 2075. What artists do you think will be on that stage? What kind of music will they be making?
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? Like, what will the world even look like in 50 years? What will the cultural landscape be like? Will SNL still be around? Will we have flying cars? Will robots be writing the sketches?
Right.
I have so many questions.
I know. It's exciting and terrifying to think about. But one thing's for sure, SNL will continue to evolve and adapt. It's like it always has. It's a reflection of us, the audience and the world we live in. And speaking of reflecting, before we wrap up this deep dive, we wanted to take a moment to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to the Deep Dive. We've got more awesome content coming your way, and we wouldn't want you to miss out. Now let's get back to pondering the future of SNL.
So as we look ahead to SNL 100, I think the big question is, what will the next generation of comedy and music look like? What voices will we hear? What stories will they tell?
It's a great question, and I think it's something we should all be thinking about. What kind of legacy do we want to leave for the next generation of artists and entertainers? What values do we want to pass on?
It's a big conversation. It goes beyond just SNL. It's about the future of our culture, our art, and our collective imagination. And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're not just reliving a concert. We're using it to explore these bigger questions about who we are, where we're going, and what role art and entertainment play in our world.
I love that. It's like we've gone from a backstage pass to a time machine, peering into the future of music and comedy.
Totally.
And that's the beauty of the deep dive. We're not just here to summarize information. We're here to spark your curiosity, to make you think, and to leave you with more questions than answers.
And hopefully inspire you to do some deep diving of our own, whether it's exploring the music we talked about tonight, or thinking about the future of SNL, or even just talking with a friend about what you found interesting. The journey of discovery is what it's all about.
As we've been talking about all these performances, I keep thinking back to that Variety article and how it describes the whole vibe of the concert. It wasn't just star power. It was like this shared history, this feeling of a family reunion. Did you get that sense?
Totally. It was palpable. You could feel the love and respect, these artists had for SNL and for each other. Like, it wasn't just a gig, it was a celebration of this incredible legacy. And I think even as a viewer at home, you would have felt that energy. You've got legends like Cher and Bonnie Raitt sharing the stage with, newer artists like Brandi Carlile and Post Malone. It shows how SNL can stay relevant across generations.
It makes you wonder what was going on backstage, right? Like, were there jam sessions? Did Bill Murray tell Lady Gaga a joke? I need a behind-the-scenes documentary like yesterday.
Yeah, all the stories we're missing out on. But even without that inside scoop, you can feel that camaraderie, in the performances themselves. Think about the Culps, Will Ferrell, and Anna Gasteyer. They were incorporating modern hits like Unholy and Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because they're so oblivious to the lyrics. But it also shows how SNL is constantly evolving, finding new ways to make fun of current culture while still honoring its own comedic traditions.
It's like they're saying we're in on the joke even if our characters aren't. And that self-awareness is part of what makes SNL so brilliant. They can laugh at themselves, at pop culture, at how absurd it all is, and they make us laugh with them.
Exactly. And I think that being able to laugh at ourselves is so important these days. We live in a world that's just constantly bombarding us with information and opinions and anxieties. SNL is like this release valve. It lets us take a step back, take a breath, and find the humor in all the chaos.
It reminds us that even when things are serious, it's okay to laugh, to be silly, to embrace the absurdity. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to that image of SNL 100 in 2075. What will the world be like then? What would we be laughing at? What music will move us?
It really sparks the imagination, doesn't it? Like, what kind of world are we creating for the next generation? What stories will we tell? What will be the Dick in a Box of 2075? Who knows? But I can't wait to find out.
Me too. And hey, maybe one of our listeners will be the next Lorne Michaels shaping the future of comedy. If that's you, hit us up. We'd love to have you on the show.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the SNL 50, the homecoming concert. We hope you enjoyed it, learned something new, and maybe even laughed along the way.
And if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something fascinating. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.